Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast, right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. Once again, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Galactic Comics and Collectibles at galacticcomicsandcollectibles.com. Today, we welcome back Tyler Boss, who is the artist behind such series as Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, What's the Furthest Place From Here, and a ton of variant covers. Recently, Boss has created and wrote books like You'll Do Bad Things, as well as Universal Monsters, Phantom of the Opera, and 2 issues of Exquisite Corpses, which is now having a spin-off series based around the character and serial killer Rascal Randy, which comes out July 8th. Boss is here to talk about all things Exquisite Corpses and Rascal Randy right here on the podcast. But before you listen, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, all those places. You can rate, review, subscribe to our podcast over on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. The video portion of this podcast can be viewed over on youtube.com. And as always, you can check out capesandtights.com for so much more. This is comic book creator, artist, writer, cartoonist, whatever you want to call him, Tyler Boss, chatting Exquisite Corpses and Rascal Randy and so much more. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, Tyler. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Tell you what, I am pumped. So it's funny. I actually talked to someone at my book club. We were just talking about book club before, but we just read Final Boss by Tyler Kirkham, and which I absolutely loved. I think it was so much fun and just like, I don't know, there was just so much going on, but like just like people's heads getting smashed. I don't know. I just don't have that much enjoyment in comics in a little while. Like just straight up like full on like don't care what's happening. I just want to see people annihilated, and it was fun. I also was like saying in my head brutality every time a brutality would come on because like video games.
Yeah.
But at the book club,
perfect. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's yeah, no, for real. It's that great. It's like 90s. It's like a full 90s throwback. Just like we're doing fun. We're doing it's and even I almost got free copies of the book because of Tyler being his first name and Final Boss being the last one. There was multiple times Image sent me an email being like, how many copies you want? And I was like, oh, like 60. Just send me.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I was like, no, wrong Tyler.
And I'll sign him as Tyler Kirkham too, just so people don't know. Just like Italia. Or just type him Tyler so no one will really know. You know, his signature is pretty easy. You can figure that out. No. But yeah, we were saying, and as we were leaving, we're like, well, we're going to do this next couple of months and what books we're going to be reading and so on and so forth. In October, the plan is to read Exquisite Corpses and the volume 1. And my buddy was like, wait, it takes place in a fictional town in Maine? I was like, yes. I'm like, we're in Maine. Like, this is like exactly what we need to have happen. And then it got brought up again. And I ran a horror panel on Friday night with some horror authors in town in Bangor, Maine. And it got brought up again because we were talking about how like it's actually easier to come up with a fictional town in a state than it is a real life town because you don't have to do as much research, because if you say something that's wrong, it's like, well, it's not real anyway. Or you don't have to offend a bunch of people or kill a bunch of people. And so Exquisite Corpses has come up quite a bit in the past couple weeks, and fittingly, it is a very popular title and a very exciting title. So I'm excited that you came on here to talk about that, this on here, and Rascal Randy and so much more. But like, what's been up other than that? What have you been up to? You been doing anything fun? Summer started. You're in New York.
No,
what's going on?
I'm a new dad, so that's my life right now. I'm 5 months in. He's the best. It is the cliche that everybody says. But we are, cards on the table. We're recording this at 10 a.m. If it was pre-dad life, I wouldn't be awake yet. So now I'm up at 6 a.m. every day. So that's my new reality.
It's funny about this. That's fittingly right too, because Matthew Rosenberg, your partner in crime, sometimes also doesn't record this early on a new.
He's definitely not awake.
And I was thinking like.
To be fair to Matt, he just went to bed like 2 hours ago.
Yes,
so so it's funny. We can talk now at like 6 a.m., but it's just before he goes to bed, and it's just when I got up.
It's funny. I was like, most people, like, it's this back and forth. There's like 2 segments of people that record on the podcast. There's the people who are like, yeah, oh my gosh, I absolutely love the fact that you can record during the day on a Monday, because normally these people podcasts are like, can you record at 9 o'clock at night? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm done with my workday or whatever. And then there's the other segment who are like, I actually have to be busy during the day, so can we record at night? And I was like, I love the people who are like, oh, you can record at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, to me, 10 o'clock in the morning is nice because I can get it out of the way. I can move on with my day and edit and do all that stuff. But like, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm getting done with my day, I'm like, yeah, but then I'm not going to edit it to the next day. Or like if it's a one that I am stressed about, I'll be like stressed all day about it. And it's all this stuff that it's just like, oh,
And you
you know
never know
what?
what came up before in the day that's good. Like you can't anticipate this way. Yeah, it can't
Well,
be.
I'm a
I think
I'm a dad too. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old that just turned 5, and so to me, it's always one of those things like I'm planning ahead, but I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen in 3 weeks on a Monday. Are you kidding me? This is
yeah, yeah.
ridiculous. I can't plan this. Like it's just ridiculous. So my son, not to get too far into it, but he takes a prophylactic antibiotics so he doesn't get sick, and he's 5, and this one past dose is like giving him diarrhea, to get personally. So like right now, it's like waiting for the phone call from the school to be like, "Hey, by the way, your kid pooped his pants," and I'm like, "Ah, god damn it." No, but we
Or
luckily
the
have a
second
great.
outfit's there.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said. I luckily have a great partner, and my wife Taylor, so she'll help during these moments. But yeah, I definitely had to cancel podcasts because of children. So cancel things in general because of children, and it's usually just typically so you can just be in the same room as them. It's not like you actually
Yeah.
have to go and save the day, but. Yeah, but we're here. So I'm glad you're awake, or at least somewhat awake. I'm sure
Oh
sleeping
yeah,
is
no,
not
I'm.
amazing right now anyway, but
I mean, you know what it is. It's that you just sort of the first 2 weeks is kind of your figure, and then you're just in it, and it is what it is. So no, yeah, we're.
I do remember watching like all of the animated Spawn series when I had my
Oh,
son.
okay. This is good. So I had never read it before, which I know is like sacrilege, but I'd never read Ultimate Spider-Man. And so I had the night shift with him. And so what we did every night, we called it Spider-Man hours. And we read for the first month, we just read every single issue of Ultimate Spider-Man the whole way through. So now we've covered that. And then I was like, oh, what if we go and read all of Spider-Man? And then I was like, oh, it's about to hit issue 1000. Maybe that's not going to happen. But
Gotta have another child because of this. No, no,
yeah,
no.
exactly.
The
But
stupid
so wait,
reasons to do
you did
things.
all the
Yeah.
animated Spawn.
Oh, I did all the animated Spawn because like I wake up and I'd feed my son, and then he like to try to get him to go back to sleep or whatever. He'd just be in my arms, and so I was like, my wife isn't really into that, so I was like, I guess. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, no, I'll get the baby. Because I wanted to watch Spawn, and it was the weirdest thing. And I was like, and it was weird because I'm like, if he has nightmares, I'm like, is that why? Is it Todd McFarlane's fault that my son has nightmares now at 5, or is
Yeah,
it my fault as a parent? But no, it was funny because I did find myself doing that, and I do find myself doing that now. I'm 40, and I for some reason my son woke up this morning at like 3 o'clock in the morning, just Dad, where are you? And I went into his room or whatever, and I sat in the chair, and I was like, now I'm up, like I'm gonna be up for a little bit, like I can't just go back to bed 15 minutes later. It just doesn't work that way. And so I picked up a book I'm reading, and I was like, oh, I'll just read it. So I do actually get to read more because my child wakes up in the middle of the night, which is kind of funny. So not that I want that. I'd rather sleep through the night, Tyler. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night, but like.
no, but I hear you. It's yeah, those little. It's I when I lived in New York City, my best reading time was on the subway, and now I don't commute at all. I just am in my house all the time, and so it's yeah, my reading time is late at night with my son when he needs to eat, and okay, we're gonna read whatever issue of Batman that came out or something.
Yeah, it's just the future because now you're gonna read with your son together at some point in the
Yeah.
future, and that's the
Oh,
hope.
yes. The other joke we always have where people are like, "Oh, what are you reading now?" And I'm like, "We're reading Chicka Chicka Boom
Yeah,
Boom. We're reading Blue Truck Says Go." A lot of
and some
board
of them are
books.
like, these are actually pretty good, and some of them I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. You know what's the best is that my son, and thanks to Steve Fox for this, has a signed copy of the Super Mario Brothers Little Golden Book on the
Oh
wall in
man,
his room
did Steve
because
write that?
Steve wrote that. So
Yeah,
you're gonna
Steve
have to
writes so
get
many
that.
books. Yeah, okay, this is
He
a
wrote a
good tip.
sticker book for Super Mario Brothers as well. Like there's a couple things that Steve wrote that I'm like, you're also writing like stories about like monsters and shit, and then you're also writing like Super Mario Brothers for my kids.
Yeah,
Like
and
you're
Steve. I don't know how Steve does it because Steve he edits so many books. He writes a bunch of prose book like the Golden Books. He even has other books like he has a Dumb and Dumber book he wrote. He has all these other ones, and then he's also writing comics for Marvel. He's also writing comics for Dark. Yeah, it's Steve is insane.
so he wrote. It looks like right here I on bookshop.org. He wrote a Pokemon ABC book for Little Golden Book, and then the Super Mario Brothers Golden Book. Excuse me. Obviously, it's like Spider Ham and other ones that are Marvel related too. It looks like he wrote a Zelda book. But yeah, I'm gonna have to grab some of those. Yeah, so it was one of those things where I'm like, awesome, this is great. And then I look at my son and I'm like, but you can't touch this because this is kind of something, not because I don't want to like hold on to it and make it perfect, but like I want you to have this later on in life as something to be like, oh, look at this is pretty cool. And Super Mario is one of those ones that you can grow with. It's not like it's Paw Patrol where you're like at some point you're like, okay, I'm done with Paw Patrol. Like Super Mario Brothers should be something he never grows out of. But yeah, there's a couple things on there. I think Joey Esposito's Sesame Street comic book. He wrote a Sesame Street comic, and Joey's from lives in Bath, Maine, which is like about an hour and a half from us. So he signed up. He's went to Nova and stuff like that. So there are some books that are signed specifically to him. And then my son's name is Nova, by the way. And so that's around the wall. But yeah, Steve was the one. I was like, this is cool. Like I can't believe like this crossover of like my son wanting Little Golden books and he can't read them. He just looks at the pictures, but it's fine. But yeah, Steve is prolific in that sense to have all that stuff. It's also many different revenue streams. I'm guessing that's a good thing to have too. You're
Sure.
busy,
Yeah.
but like you can pay the bills if you have all those revenue
I think
streams.
he loves the work. And also, I mean, he's the editor on Exquisite Corpses too, and on or one of them. There's three editors. It's him and Greg Lockhart and Eric Carburn.
Yeah, it's he's that relationship with Tiny Onion is pretty cool too. Like, I think the whole thing. So like speaking of that, like not that everyone wants to hear talk about dads, which I mean, I guess that could be a cool episode too. I bet
Yeah.
it would actually work for a segment of comic book
Oh
people.
yeah.
Like it's like this whole thing. We did talk about that at the beginning of our book club. We're like, can we have a half an hour of like just decompressing as dads, and then we can go into book club because like the owner's a dad, and a couple other people are dads. And I'm like, yeah, but the people that are like 20 and don't give a shit about kids are not going to want to be here. But Exquisite Corpses, there you go. A transition there. You wrote You'll Do Bad Things. You've also written other stuff, but you also are an artist in the world of comics. It's This is different though. Like Exquisite Corpses is one of those like comics are collaborative in general because you have obviously you and the writer or the artist and you and the editor and the publisher and all that stuff. But this was like ultimate collaboration if you think about it because like if you look at if anybody opens like the first issue or any issue of Exquisite Corpses, it like says like the Exquisite Corpses crew. Like it just lists all the people that are part of this book, and it's incredible the names that are attached to this book. Was that like is that fun? Is that like different? Is it harder? Is it like what's it like being in this like collaborative team with this?
It legitimately, and this is not to like, I feel like people sometimes give, it was some of the most fun I've ever had creatively. Obviously I work with Matt Rosenberg all the time, and he's sort of my like creative brother and everything. And this was such a different experience for me because Matt's sort of my comfort zone. Like me and him know each other, like we know each ticks, we know how to make each other laugh, and it's just sort of a constant one-upmanship with one another. Um, but being in this room with, and the room was, it was put together by James Tynan with Tiny Onion and Michael Walsh, the other series co-creator, and they brought in, it was me, Pornsak Pinchinchot, Jay Grayson, and Jordy Belair. And that was sort of the writer's room. And then obviously we have the rest of the corpse crew. We have Valentine Delandro on art, Gavin Fullerton, Adam Gorham, oh God, I'm blanking on two. Oh my God, Mariana and Ignazi, and everybody, brought their own thing to it. But being in the room, it was also, I mean, so we brought them all out to Buffalo, which is where me and my wife live, and put them up in a hotel. And we basically did like 2 days. It was also really weird. I'm a big hockey fan, and they were doing the NHL scouting combine in the same hotel. So it was all these like really beautiful, like young Swedish dudes all walking around, and then just like us, like planning like a murder book.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
Because it was
playing a
like
horror book and we're a bunch of comic book nerds. It just doesn't
yeah,
like
like
work together. Yeah.
the room we're in is like a big conference room that looks out next to the Buffalo Sabres hockey arena, and then the room next to us is just a huge hockey rink. Like if you open the other, so it was and they're all, it was very weird. But no, so sorry, getting off track. James and Michael. James wrote the first issue and had the script, and they basically had a Bible. And they gave it to all of us beforehand. We're like, read this, and then just so you're familiar with the world. And when we came into the room, Michael basically was going to do the second issue no matter what, and so he had his issue loosely broken down. It wasn't like everything, but it was loosely here are the beats. And so we had James's script, which is done and very tight. And Michael's going to draw, and then we had Michael's beats, his loose thing, and then from there we each rolled dice to see who was going to go next in the story. And so we went Pornsak, and then it went Che, and then it went me. This was the only time we reversed things where we did my whole issue and went, actually, after Jordy went, we should flop. because it would just work better. But mostly it was a sort of thing where it was a true sort of like handing of the baton, and people would jump in on other people's issues. And it was always, no one ever felt like their idea had to win. It was just best idea win. And so it was one of those things where it's like there was truly no ego in the room and everyone felt very comfortable. It was, and it's hard too, because a lot of us didn't know each other beforehand. Like Michael and Jordy were very close. Me and James have been friends for years. I had met Pornsack maybe like 2 months prior, really briefly at Comics Pro in Pittsburgh, and I had met Che really randomly. I was very close friends with their downstairs neighbor. We found out. So it was like a really weird thing where it was like, oh, that's weird that me and your downstairs neighbor were buddies. But I don't know, it was great. It was all, and you go and see what everybody's doing now with Pornsack on Absolute Green Arrow and Che on Absolute Catwoman, and obviously Jordy doing the every book coloring the best ones, and James is James, and then Michael's got I don't think it's announced, he's got a really cool DC thing coming too that he's doing, and then I don't know, it's cool to sort of we're gearing up now for season 2 already, and so I can't wait to do it. And we're all getting back in the room, and I don't know if there'll be the NHL scouting combine happening at the same time.
Well, you gotta find out. You gotta find out where that is next year, and then just do it there for some reason. It worked so well where it was that
yeah.
it's the connection that no one ever knows why it connected that way. But it's just
what was the secret sauce? Where it's like we needed a lot of really fit Swedish people around.
Well, it's kind of funny is like, again, Galactic Comics and Collectibles in Bangor, Maine, where I grab my comics. And actually, Paul Eaton, the owner of that shop, is my daughter's godfather, because we just been friends for a while, and it just worked out that way. And he's a humongous hockey fan. I actually used to write for hockey. Used to write a little bit of the Bruins, and I used to write college hockey. And
oh, wow.
So it's kind of funny. Like there is. I actually wrote for UMass Lowell in Lowell, Massachusetts, because I lived in the apartment complex literally next. Like my window out to my room looked at the arena, which was really awesome. At that point, I like walked to games, and after the games, I'd go get some beers and stumble. It was just a really good. It was a really worked out really well.
Perfect hockey time. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, kind of funny. My cousin was a cheerleader at a local school in the area, and she had some sort of cheering competition at the arena. And my aunt had texted me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come, support your cousin?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I realized that it was like $25 to get in or something like that. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I like my cousin that much. Like that seems a little ridiculous. And so I also didn't want to sit around all day, because I'm like, this is a bunch of like high school students cheerleading, and I feel like that's creepy if you're not like, I don't know. I just felt really awkward to be there.
You don't got family members.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'll go for your competition and then leave. And then I'm like, but that's that's an even worse $25. So I used my press pass to get in the back door. And I walked in like I knew what I was doing. Like I was like, hey, yeah. And they're like, hey, you. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. And I got it for free. And I was like, I got to start doing this more. I got to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
No,
you should do it at the brew. Yeah. Do it at TD Garden.
Oh, dude. The sad part is I my first ever scheduled covering of the Bruins is the day of the bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing. That
my parents
night,
were actually there,
and so I was in Boston. I was actually there, and I walked up. I was driving to the city. I didn't know what was going on. I lived a little north of the city, and I was like, the heck, this is weird. And I got there, all the trash cans lids were off, and I'm like, what the heck? And my ex-wife now, wife at the time, goes, you should probably come home. And I was like, well, I don't know. This is probably the safest place to be right now, is the Garden. They've got security. They've checked the whole building. I'm like, leaving might be actually harder, more dangerous. But luckily I got the outlet I was working for moved. I was filling in for someone, and they're like, hey, we'll get you a game future on. And then that point on, I started covering the Bruins more. But I couldn't. The Garden's a little harder to do that in, Tyler. The local college arena was a little bit easier to get into with the press pass. But,
you never know. You got to, you try.
You got to try.
You got to try. All they can say.
And then
I'm
actually officially there. But I'm like, aren't you the guy that tried to sneak in? That's like, wasn't there like a Kanye concert you tried to get into or something like that?
For them, it was a
flashing your Bruins badge. Yeah, no. But yeah, so there's a crossover between it's kind of funny because we always laugh when someone comes in the shop when I'm hanging out there, and they're like, "You guys sell sports cards?" And he's like, "We're a bunch of nerds here. Sorry." And there's more reason to that. He would carry sports cards, but there's a lot more involved to carry sports cards. But he usually uses that as an excuse. He's always like, "We're a bunch of nerds here. We don't carry sports cards, even though we should or want to." But yeah, hockey's the connection to Exquisite Corpses, I guess. We'll figure that out, right? At some point.
I mean, Walsh is a
Um,
huge hockey fan too. Sadly,
oh,
he's a
there you go.
Leafs fan, so you
Oh,
know.
jeez.
Well, I mean, it's not his fault. He lives in Hamilton. You know, it's
Yeah,
not his fault.
and I never blame that for someone. Like there's someone like I had a friend that grew up was a big Yankees fan, and like up to like age 10, he was
Well, he had
lived
a
in New
choice.
York.
He could have been a Mets fan.
That's a good point. But I mean, I also like relationship with parents. My dad's a Jets fan, so like I don't
That's
understand
just
that.
a tough life. That's
That's
a
just
tough life.
horrible. It's horrible. I've always respected them though, because when the Jets ultimately lose, he cheered for my Patriots. So it was like
Yeah, yeah.
it was okay in that
Oh,
sense.
okay.
Like
So there's,
he knew better.
I'm a Bills and Sabres fan, so all I know is pain. But you know,
And you have no choice though. Like
oh
you're
yeah, no,
stuck with
born
that.
in it. Yeah,
Like I at least get some sort of excitement of being a New England sports fan every once in a while. But like
some story. You got Titletown.
and some of them are struggling a little bit. But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully we'll do better in the future. But yeah, actually Swayman, goalie for the Bruins is actually friends of. I work for a brewery during the day, and he's friends with our brewery because he went to UMaine, and I work in a town that UMaine's in, so we have that connection there too, which is awesome. He came in one day and asked I was like, "Can I get your autograph?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I have a card I found randomly of a rookie card of you, and I want to just put it in the office. It's not going to try to sell it. You can write to Justin. I don't care. Can you just sign this for me?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." But yeah,
And
he's
he
a
was
good.
standing on his head during that series.
Oh, dude. I we could talk hockey again all day. Same thing. If
Yeah,
I
exactly.
when I did an episode with David, I've been got a couple episodes of David Harper of Off Panel, and the same thing. I'm a huge
So you guys
basketball
just
fan
talking
too, and I'm
paths?
like,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, we could just talk basketball for the entire episode, but I'm like, but I also want people to listen to this episode
Listen to that.
and find out about your comics and like all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. I don't want people turning it off because they don't like that subject or whatever. But no, Exquisite Corpses equals hockey. That's what we're getting out of this whole discussion here is hockey. No, and so I think the two most recognizable characters in this series so far are the Fox Mask Killer. Obviously, it's the first issue, so that helps with like the cover of the first issue. People like recognize that for a while that becomes the trade cover and so on and so forth. Like someone talked about Exquisite Corpses, likely that's the cover they use to promote it because that's just the number one. But I also believe Rascal Randy. I think that those are the two that like to me, and I don't know if it's because like I'm in this vacuum where I'm like researching things because I'm having a conversation with you. So Rascal Randy kind of like comes up. It's also the first solo spinoff series. So there's that too. And so like there's this connection to Rascal Randy. But do you think that too? Are those the most
Yeah, I
recognizable
think
killers in this series?
when we got the Bible, so part of two, when we each got to our issue, we had to kind of take a character with us. So like when we'd roll, we'd be next, and we'd sort of be like, all right, you have like you pick a killer basically for your issue. And after seeing them all, I was like, okay, the three that I feel like are the most iconic were, yeah, Fox Masks, Randy, and Lone Gunman because of the mask. Um, but I didn't want to touch him at first. I was like, issue four feels too early. I'll take Gamer Kid. Like I'll take. I know what that dude is. I grew up in Modern Warfare 2 COD lobbies. I understand wholly what this character in person is, and we're gonna run with that. And then towards the end of my issue, Randy makes an appearance, not to spoil anything, and it was the sort of thing where it was like I was hedging. It was like I didn't want to take him, but it was sort of, I wanted him sort of immediately. And I think Fox Mask, the things I see, I think Randy's hard to cosplay. He kind of, Tiny Onion has a costume now, and the way they got it was they sort of reached out to these furries who were like, that's what they do, and they built the suit. But you kind of got to know people like that. Whereas Fox Mask, it's day one, people had masks. Like people found 3D prints of it. They went and sculpted their own, they whatever, and then it's like, all right, it's that. And then simple too, right? It's a suit and a mesh shirt, and then as long as you got the mask, you can rock it. And that's there's something really cool that I've never really been a part of until Corpses, where it's like, there's it taps into a little bit of that superhero fandom where it's like the characters are easy to cosplay. You can dress up at them as a convention and come to a signing, come to an event, and like it feels like you're building this community and excitement around a book that like then has all these other components, right? Like we have the game, we have these other things, and you're building out this big world. And part of that really is, I think, to James and Michael's credit, they really honed in on that, where it's like we need people to want to be like into these killers in a way that like want to dress up as them. Like you can imagine their outfits on a Party City rack. Um, and then, the fun part then too is that, like, they have, some have had more backstories than others. Randy sort of didn't have anything beyond the suit. And so that's what I was so excited about when they were sort of like, okay, we think if this series does well, we're going to want to do offshoots of these characters. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, I want to do Randy. And I think this is my way into it. I think this is, what would be fun, and maybe most interesting about this character. Because, you see it sometimes. The thing about Randy that's so exciting off rip is the mystery of it, right? Like, you don't super, like, it's just this weird ambulatory mascot outfit wandering through the woods. And you're like, that's a creepy image and that's fun. And sometimes finding out too much about that could ruin the horror of it or ruin why it works. And so I was really cognizant of that and really tried to have a different approach to what we were going to do with him. Because him and Fox Masks, I think, have become sort of the official mascots of the book. Just visual, you said it with the first cover, or whatever. And I think Lone Gunman, I think it's hard for him to fully be the mascot of the book, just because you don't want a dude with, especially in America, with 75 assault rifles strapped to him to be the mascot of your book, unless you're, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think the colors, like you're thinking about like the Fox Mask Killer, you got the colors off the first issue with the orange and the pink and the
That punch
orange, just
pink.
so that the bright colors on it. It's just like it draws you in. I do think that, like, yes, that Rascal Randy has this like creepy. I don't know. Do you remember like years ago when they had this like thing where clowns were dressing up and just like standing awkwardly in
Oh yeah, yeah.
towns?
Wasn't that
Like
like for it though? Like, it
no,
was
but it
like,
was like,
speaking of Maine.
yeah, but I feel like it was just like this random thing. I think it was like around that time, but it wasn't it costumes. It was just like clowns, and you like walk onto campus at like a university, and someone like be sitting on a bench dressed up as a clown, just sitting still. And I'm like, it was like so creepy and weird. I feel like Rascal Randy could be that, but the problem is like you'd have, like you mentioned, the costume. Like you'd have to have like a suit. Like you couldn't just do that. But I could like picture like walking through downtown if it's some area and just seeing like Rascal Randy like standing in the window of a store or something like that, just like creepily, and then just like move and like,
Give you a
hey,
little
you're like,
like,
what
yeah.
the fuck? Like it's creepy. It's like that eeriness. Like the clowns have always had this like stigma to clowns in the sense that people are afraid of them. But I feel like bunnies. There are some scary ass bunnies. Like, have you seen those pictures of like kids at Easter Bunny like sitting on the crown or the Easter
Oh
bunny's
yeah.
like,
Got
and
the
like the
bad
teeth are
face
all like
paint.
jacked
Yeah.
up, and it's like, what the hell?
Pipe
But this is like a
cleaners or
soft,
the
yeah, this is
whiskers.
like a
Yeah.
soft, cuddly bunny that kills people.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean, it's
it's
it's the
crazy.
perversion of, it is that pervert, it's you have these childhood sort of iconic image, clowns or a bunny or even Santa, like, you do these things, and then you turn in a way where you take it from a place of comfort and you go, oh no, this is the worst.
But it makes it scary. And I guess foxes are like villains and things like that. Like they are the bad creature. They're a predator of sorts. So like that does do that. But again, the femininity of the character of Fox Mask Killer does add that like softer touch to it in the sense that a fox is really scary, but like they're also sleek and things like that. Bunny is like hard. Like there's no like rabbit bunnies are scary. That's it. And I guess ones that are dressed up like characters and kill people that's also scary. But like otherwise, they're just like they're always just soft and cuddly to me. So I think that does add that extra level of fear and scariness to the character of Rascal Randy for sure.
Yeah, and I think I mean, with Randy too, I think there's some really fun stuff we did, sort of tapping into like specifically rabbit iconography. There's like weird, even like art history references to like Albrecht Dürer's rabbit, if you're like into stuff like that. Um, different uh rabbits across cartoon history, not just Roger or Bugs or whatever these things, but sort of touching into these ideas of animation and studios and what it means to have sort of a cartoon mascot. I think there's some wonderful horror stuff with a sort of starting touch point was, oh, why am I blanking on his name? Sitting next to me, Al Columbia's Amnesia, where it was like he has these sort of like uh, one-off drawings from the golden age of animation, where it's just these horrible things happening and they're supposed to each be a feature, and they're one image. And the thing that's great about them is that you look at them and then you sort of get to imagine the story behind everything. And that was sort of a touch point of specifically the horror with Randy, where it's sort of the stuff left unsaid is the scariest stuff. And so you're just trying to present the reader with sort of these different images of these things, and then letting the things unsaid be the scariest part.
And Randy has this obviously. Volume 3 hasn't come out in trade yet, and the issue 13 literally just dropped like last week, I believe it was. So I don't want to like spoil anything for anybody, which would be much more fun to talk to you about it right now as to what happens and what goes from there. But like, uh, there's a trajectory for Randy, and is a mystery outside of just who the character is and what there's more of a mystery of what happens to some extent. But it's cool because like I think that the create and collaboration of all of this is well multiple facets to that. One amazingness is the fact that for marketing aspects, like this Tiny Onion group of people is a huge. They're very smart. James and the team are very very smart people, and having this many amazing creators on it too helps with the marketing on it. Because like if I'm a Tyler Boss fan, obviously I want to be involved in this, but I'm not just going to read issue 6 and issue 9. I'm going to read all of them. I'm going to buy them all, read the trades, or so on and so forth. And if I'm a Michael Walsh fan or a Tiny fan or whoever, you're gonna like. There's just so many people promoting this book, and I thought that sometimes that works great. Sometimes it works the opposite because it's just like it feels like when you read issue 1 and then issue 2 written by people, it's like it feels segmented in a way that just doesn't work. Yes, this works so well. Like, I don't think that if anybody did not look at the creators of these books for each individual issues, like the writer and the artist on it, I don't know if it's that many people who are just picking up this volume. My buddy who just picked up the trade, if he picks it up and picks up the next trade, I don't think they'd be like, this is by different people. Like, it's just you guys worked so well together on writing these and making these things seem that way. And even the artwork has their own slight variations to each one, but they're not like it's all of a sudden some sort of cartoony one or some sort of vintage looking one or some sort of like abstract horror style one. It's like they still look similar. And I'm guessing that was a goal of the whole thing. I'm guessing that was when you guys talked in that room that day that like the idea was to make it cohesive while also standing apart. But I think that was just as huge to me. It was like I love the idea that I could touch on the different creators and read different things, but also have it be like not so blatantly obvious that it's a different team working on each comic.
Yeah, and that's all, we started this conversation early about it, but that's really a massive credit to Steve Fox, Eric Harburn, and Greg Lockhart, the editors, where they did an amazing job of, after we sort of had broken the whole story together, not that there were rules put in place for your writing, but they were very cognizant of letting each creator follow the things that excited them as far as be it horror or voice of the character or whatever, while making sure we're keeping it consistent across the line, that like what the Exquisite Corpses tone and world is. And that was sort of, the golden carrot we all had to make sure was in front of us that we were chasing. And, artistically on the art side, having Jordy color the whole thing to make sure that like at least, even though yeah we're going to have art styles are going to shift, because of course they're going to shift if you're using different artists, but the having it be colored by the same person, and also to yeah being within, every artist is different, but they're within a similar box of yeah, there's no like crazy cartoonists versus, like, it wasn't like we were like, okay, now this issue is going to be James Stokey, and then this issue is going to be Alex Ross. So, like, we're
I was just
keeping
like
it
picturing
totally.
like Trish Forrester, like or some sort of like
Yeah,
stray dogs looking issue that you're like, what the hell just happened? Or like
yeah,
what they did with Uncanny Valley with Tony Fleece and Dave, like the idea that like they're different styles on purpose. Like I'm glad
yeah,
it wasn't that for sure.
yeah. But what's been super fun about the offshoot ones is that, Dylan Burnett, who's drawn the Rascal Randy series, Dylan has a much more cartoony style. It's much more kinetic. It has sort of a root in manga, but also really like Street Fighter and video game art from the 90s. Like, Dylan really is such like a fighting game head. He's a great book from Skybound called Arcade Kings that everybody should check out. But he he really brings, I don't exactly know how he would fit with the other group of artists if he was doing a main book, because it's maybe just a little bit too cartoony. But with Randy, it really feels still a part of the world, but even its own thing, because our book it's a prequel to the story, the main Exquisite Corpses story. Ours takes place before. It's basically, our story is how New Jersey comes to select Rascal Randy as their killer. through ways of sort of we're doing. I'm really happy it comes out in July because it's set up to sort of be a summer slasher story while also being these other things. So it's supposed to tap into some of that fun while also um, it's doing something very different. Hopefully, people think it's different and cool, but it's doing something where we're sort of cutting back and forth through time from 1920 to 2009 to 2024, and we're hitting I don't know, a lot of different points in history to try and.
Hmm. No, it is. I got a chance to look at it the other night, and it was you mentioned the artwork part of it. I'd say you could do completely drastically different for each character in these offshoots because of the fact that I feel like the main story in Oak Valley and in that place needs to look the same because it's all happening at the same time and it's this whole like progression. It's like it basically is like a TV show or a movie in that sense of set up that way. That each issue is a episode, and it's called episodes. Is that if it would look different in each one, it'd be really weird. It would be off-putting and stuff like that. But I feel like the offshoots comic books, the spin-off comic books, like you're telling a story about Rascal Randy. So like it could be Rascal Randy's like, build up to this could make sense, or the Fox Gas Killer, or so on and so forth. You have all these killers that could be their own style. You could do something that was like completely abstract and different because it's focusing on that one character at a different point in time or a different place. And that's why I feel like that worked really well with this comic that you have coming out. I'm also happy that it's a multiple issues. This is not like what I was afraid of when I first saw that it was coming. I'm like, there was nothing else solicited after that what I saw, and so it was like issue one. Then I'm like, is it gonna be a one shot? Because I feel like it would have probably worked great as a one shot because you could like push it all in there. But I feel like you would have had to force everything into one issue.
I don't know how I would have done it as a one
And
shot.
that's why. But it would have been cool. But it also would have just been the seem like too little. And I feel like all of us that are invested in this series were like, no, if we're gonna focus on one character, I want to focus on a character that's like some actual time and effort into this character. It's multiple issues. It's multiple issues. How many issues is it going to be?
So it's 5 issues right now. It's a little bit sort of like the absolute stuff where it's if people show up, it might be a little bit more, but it'll be a complete story in those 5 issues. Our and it's the fifth issue is going to be big. It's long. Um, the but the there's things too with our book where it's I say prequels, people go, oh, like I don't really want to know, I don't really care how Randy sets up, but there's things that we're doing that hopefully um, they set up different threads that'll eventually come together in different seasons. There's other things that happen in these. It's a little bit where it's if you read these things, hope you'll get a full complete meal that will be fun and it's its own story and it functions and you can just read that book. But if you're a fan of Exquisite Corpses as a whole property and you like enjoying each part, then you'll pick up on things that are happening across the issues that you wouldn't pick up on, not just for season one, but things that are coming in season two. And so there's stuff like that's bouncing around in there. But my goal and Dylan's goal when we started was to tell the specific story that we were telling with Randy as the vehicle. And so it's hard. I keep wanting to. I just finished issue 4, and so we're writing issue 5 right now, and Dylan's finishing issue 3. But you get so excited you want to start spoiling all the goofy stuff we're doing because even in issue 1 you don't, which I sent you. I don't think in issue 2 starts. We're back in 1920. We're in the heyday of golden age animation, and then later on we'll be in Hollywood in 2000. And there's different things that are sort of happening. So yeah, it's our main story takes place in Aurora Springs, which is if Oak Valley is sort of our nod to Stephen King and Maine small towns. I was like, well, I'm a New York kid, so we're doing this specific sort of like New York town on a lake with all set against this. I had to change the name. Originally, it was called the Wally Walleye Fishy Frenzy. We toned it back a little bit, and now it's just the Wally Walleye Fish Festival. But a big thing up here in upstate New York is sort of like fish festivals where people go out and do a bunch of fishing, and then you fry them or whatever. And so we're setting it around that as this thing where Exquisite Corpses was set around Halloween. So there's fun parallels between those two things to sort of that will hopefully be familiar to readers, but then we do a very different kind of story with it.
And I think that's one of those things. It does feel like Exquisite Corpses, which came out as a whole series now, 13 issues, is like that tentpole film or that tentpole thing in like Marvel or DC where you like all the individual characters get together and do their thing, but in the opposite direction, which I think works so much better in that sense because you don't have to do every character if you don't want. Like you don't have to do a spin-off on every single all 13,
Yeah.
all the
I don't think
different
people are
killers.
clamoring for a Nurse Pete story,
No, it's like,
five issue
it's like,
series.
well, if it works, it works, or you do a one shot for something like that or something. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it also means that like the characters that are popular get it, but also like you said, people could just pick up Rascal Randy and read a story about a serial killer in a suit and learn about the history and all that stuff, and not even read any Exquisite Corpses, which is really kind of
Yeah, yeah.
cool. And like sense it's,
100%.
it's its own thing. But it also uses the Exquisite Corpses machine to help promote this book in a sense that if you are fans of this, you have this thing to look at and go into, which is really cool. And I do think like even the issues themselves could be like read out of order in a sense. I mean, you would lose some continuity of the whole series, but it's like if you were like, I'm just into Rascal Randy, you could just like pick out specific issues that would work really well for you. I recommend reading the whole thing. It's phenomenal reading. It does remind me, you know, the excitement behind something that's killing the children. It has that kind of excitement to it. And also now James has been doing it long enough now in the independent comic world that like I feel like he obviously knows a little bit more about like, hey, this is how I'm gonna more of a plan going into it instead of just writing a comic book and releasing it. There's a lot more involved behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. Like you mentioned the whole meeting to try to figure this out. Like also like card game and all that stuff. Like this is all so that's really cool. And I backed the card game. I was like, of course I'm gonna back the card game. This is amazing. And then I like passive aggressively send it to my friend who's a local comic book shop owner and be like, hey, by the way, they have a 10 pack or whatever it was, 20 pack, whatever it was of ones you can sell in your store. And he's like, he just commented back, we're going to be carrying it now or whatever, something like that. And I was like, awesome. He
Nice.
grabbed some too. So it's awesome. But yeah,
The
we're like,
game's fun too.
yeah,
The
it
game was
looks like it's
really
going to be a
fun.
blast. It's going to like, it's one
Yeah.
of those things that's just like, I don't know. It just seems more like immersive in a sense that like you could just, there's just so many avenues and options for this. There's merch, there's all this stuff that goes along with it nowadays that just makes your passion for some really good series so much more fun. I think like there is now Erica Slaughter and there's all these different stuff you can get in the Something's Killing the Children world, but it didn't at the beginning. And I think that those people who were diehard fans of like the first 15, 20 issues were like, you read the issues, you read the trades. That's about it. Now it's like with Exquisite Corpses, is like, okay, I get a little bit more. And that's me. I'm like, when I get passionate about something, I want it all. I want to play video games. I want everything. I want everything stickers. I want merch. I want all. And so this is kind of cool in that sense that there is this, and the characters are all created in a way that they're like icon. Like you mentioned, we mentioned about like the Fox Mask Killer in Rascal Randy. Like that's a sticker I can see someone having on like their water bottle. Like Rascal Randy's sticker, I could see just like that creepy, like off to the side with the Brent ear, like just like I can see that so much. And that's what's cool about these things. But yeah, I'm so pumped. And like I said, I pumped about like the creators that are behind these things, like seeing you taking over doing the Rascal Randy one. I was like, yes, I'm so excited for these things. And then also like it gives it up for like Dylan, like to get another artist involved, which is really cool. Like adding to this team, it's going to be like, it's going to be like a football roster here in a second, like
Yeah.
40 people on it. Like who writes for Exquisite Corpses? Who doesn't write for or
Everybody.
write a
Yeah.
draw
Right.
for Exquisite Corpses now at this point? Um, but yeah, it seems like fun. I think that's what's cool about it. I think it's like it's also one of those things that like do cool shit with your friends. And I think that's just like what this feels like too. It feels like people are passionate about these things and they all want to work together. It's not like person A and person B are bickering and fighting. That's why they're not on the same issues. It seems like this is like a let's make some cool shit together.
Yeah. No, it's and then that's all credit to James is James is a monster. He's the biggest writer in comics. And he's what he could have done was pull the ladder up behind him, and instead what he's done is just thrown down 20 different ropes of hey, come up with. And so I can't say enough kind things about what James has done, not just for creators or people like us, but what he does very intentionally to try and grow this medium and this industry that we all love. It's things that people, yes, we have the card game, we have corpses, we have these things, but he's starting nonprofits to do comic shows in Brooklyn again for the alternative scene. He's a lot of other I hesitate to say because I don't want to maybe there's things unannounced. But the yeah, I can't say enough about that man. And the he's such a talented writer, such a talented creator, but what to do it for you know so many other people it's a pretty cool thing.
I'll tell you right now, and to give James credit, is the fact that I know at least a half dozen, if not more, readers of comics now have come into comics because of his comics. So like, there's people who are like, okay, I can get into something. You hand them the number one selling trade at my friend's local comic shop is Something's Killing the Children, Volume One. Like that's the number one selling trade he has had in years. It just not, but not. I don't even think it's close, to be honest with you. It might be things like Absolute Batman now because of how big that is, but also like they can't keep it up in print. So it's like one of those things that's like it's harder to get something you can't sell something that's not in print or it
Yeah,
runs
yeah.
out of print. Where
They're trying.
Something's
They're on
Killing
like
the
what, like
Children,
printing 35 of issue
yeah,
one.
exactly. There's all these yeah. So there's definitely this pulling in. He's like people read comics because of the stories that this person's created, and I think that's what's amazing about it. But I also feel like I hope other people learn from this in a sense that like I am a humongous Walking Dead fan. Like I love the Walking Dead comic book. I want this secondary part of this. So like the whole idea that you're doing this Rascal Randy comic book. I want that in the Walking Dead. I want Robert Kirkman to be like, hey, Tyler, write a Negan comic book. Or hey, someone, like I want this offshoots of that universe done now that builds up the other characters. But Robert could just sit there and like creative direct and like do a Todd McFarlane thing with Spawn where you're just like, okay, I want to make my hands in here, but I'm not going to actually like sit here and write the comic book. You can do that. That's what I want in the Walking Dead universe, and I feel like hopefully these models work. That these characters are being written by other people other than James, which again, James has his input. I'm guessing him and Michael have this input on what's going on because it's their creation as well. But yeah, I think that to me, I think of other universes that are big. I'd love to see these offshoots of these comics written by other people, other top names in comics, or even up and coming people. It doesn't matter to me. But I think that I want more from that universe outside of the deluxe editions, which I love too. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool, like learn from some of these people who are creating these universes that like again have these other creators helping. Because obviously James can't also write it all. He's only so many people.
Yeah, no, he's already got so many books
Yeah,
he's
so
got to
it's like,
write.
and he's not slowing down at all. It's not like he's like,
No, he's
okay,
certainly
when I
not.
slow down, it's like it's just ramping up, if anything. But yeah, I just think it looks like a cool thing. And again, it's not a proven concept yet, because obviously we hope that people buy Rascal Randy. That's our goal.
Yeah, no,
Please go to
it's
your local
we'll
comic shop
see.
and buy it.
Yeah,
But
please, yeah, please go. Yeah, we're gonna get canceled at issue three.
yeah, it's like okay, it's fine. Didn't work,
The
Tyler.
it didn't work. It's your fault.
Yes, it's
Not
fine.
you, me. But the no, it's yeah, people I hope will check it out and things. And it's an interesting thing where it's like, yeah, obviously it's I heard from a retail where they're like, why would I sell a book from James's series that's not James? And it's like, well, you do it with Batman, and so the idea is, can we do that here in a more like independent creator owned space? And it's a risk, and we'll see what happens. But it feels like a good risk to take. And it is that thing too, where it's like, you go to Absolute, and what an awesome thing it's done for comics. Like you hear it constantly from retailers, the amount of new people coming into the shop, kids who grew up on anime and manga who then are like, oh, I get this Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or whatever. And then, that's great. And they have those books, but then they're looking for the next thing. And so do they pick up Corpses, or do they pick up If Destruction Be Our Lot? Like, I mean, that book from Matt is, I'm cards on the table. I'm amazed so many people are connecting with that book, because I was like, brother, I love this book. It is so fucking weird. Sorry
Yeah,
for swearing.
so no, you're good. No, you're good.
So,
I completely agree with you there. It is so off the wall. It was like Matt reached. I'm like, first of all, Matt, you don't have to ask. Like, just send the copy to me. I'm gonna read it. Like, I don't. I'll read anything. You could write a story about like the directions on how to make waffles, and I'd probably read it, Matt. So don't even like question that. But then I read it. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's like, and people are connected. The number of people who
they're
wanted that
so
book,
connected.
it
Yeah.
was insane. It was just. It was. Yeah, you're right.
I think we're in a I think we're in a really cool moment right now, and who knows how. And it's, it also, to go to Robert, like what he's doing with the Energon universe with Joe and Transformers and Void Route and everything, and they got a bunch of new stuff coming with that too. And I don't know, it's a really, I feel like 2021 to like 2025 was kind of everybody like, I don't know how this, like, it was feeling, there was like sort of an anxiety in the industry of like, I don't know what everyone's doing. And it really, starting in 2025 with Absolute, it sort of just felt like it's carried up into the right. And so trying to ride that wave and keep new readers and old readers, lapsed readers excited and coming back. And what our industry does, right, where it's we're asking people to throw down $4 for one episode of a show. And so we really got to make sure it's worth it for them. And so just always trying to make sure, like, okay, every at bat has got to be we're swinging for the fences.
Yes, yes. Well, it's funny how you mentioned that because I have a long box sitting right next to me right now. We're having a yard sale in 2 weeks, and I have a long box, and there's multiple, probably 15 4 or 5 issue miniseries that I read, and we're like, that was good, that was fun, but like if they ever continued these, I don't know if I would read them again. I don't know if I could, and that's the boxes they're gonna go up for the yard sale. And I'm like, but it's hard to know that ahead of time. So like you have to throw that $4 or $5 down ahead of time. And then I'm the kind of guy who was like, well, I'm going to get the whole series. I'm not going to read 2 or 3 issues and be done. I mean, a 13 issue series might be a little different, but like a 4 or 5 issues, like, come on, like I'm going to be able to read that. And I'm a Wednesday warrior. I want my comics on Wednesday, that kind of thing. So like, to me, yeah, it is asking a lot for people. But I have met so many people in the past like 18 months who said that, like, thank God for the Absolute Universe. Like, it's not people who have written it, people who have read it, people who are not even anywhere connected to it in any possible way, who write comics or create comics, who are like, that has helped so much in comics right now because people are flocking to the stores to get these stories. And then while they're in there, they're like, oh yeah, I'll take this or I'll get this or whatever. And it's like, it's creating so many more. I mean, I wasn't a big DC reader, Tyler, until this Absolute stuff. Like
Oh yeah,
that led me
more of a
to
Marvel guy, or
yeah, more of a Marvel guy and mostly independent. I mean, it's been used to be like my whole pull list was Marvel, then it was Marvel Indie, and now it's like I'm actually probably on a Wednesday cooking up like 4 DC comics and three Marvel comics. Like it's weird how it like works that way. And it's not just Absolute, but Absolute led me into Next Level. Reading Lobo and reading Deathstroke and all this, but by creators that I'm absolutely love to see them write comics like this, and seeing that connection, that crossover should be like you're also giving new fans love with Absolute, but you're giving the longtime fans love with those characters that people maybe like forgot about or don't get enough attention. They're just I said to my buddy, I was like, 2026 really is, 25 was, but 26 is like the year of DC for sure. I think that's like, and hopefully independent comics can feed off this, like I think it is. But there's just a really good amount of books out. And I'll tell you right now, Absolute Green Arrow is one of my favorite comics I've read in a long time. And
yeah,
I can't
hell
wait
yeah.
for more.
I'm
And I
so
think this,
I shouldn't say proud, but
yeah,
I'm so
no,
pumped because I love Pornsack so much. Like, and he when I heard his, it's so I knew he was doing an Absolute book 2.5 years ago, but he didn't know what the book was. He was like, they want me to pitch. I have this villains book, but I don't know if they're going to go for it. And so every time we'd hang out, I'd be like, you got that Absolute book yet? And he'd be like, no. He's like, I don't know. And then he finally, he cracked it. He has this thing, and it's to watch people's response to it and him sort of not be able to comprehend it's great. It's awesome.
it's so phenomenal. And I think that's what it is as an independent comic lover. It's like it screams like this one particular one screams a lot more independent side of things. Like the story just feels like it's not like if it didn't have Green Arrow in it, you'd be like, is this an independent? Like it doesn't scream DC, which is amazing in that sense because I just feel like the independent world has such a wide variety of comics that DC and Marvel don't have, but for fitting reasons, obviously, because you're selling superhero stories versus other stories. But like to do this whole Absolute thing and be able to do this in a way that this, I don't know, it's like it does remind me a little bit of a Ultimate Universe from years ago in that sense, but just so much more risk taking and so much more off the edge. Like it's not just like so this person's now Spider-Man. Like it's like there's just so much more deeper changes in these characters that like just make it so much more fun to read and hopefully people pick up that and then pick up Dark Knight Returns or like they pick up other DC
Oh
things
yeah,
too
the classics. Yeah.
it's helping all comics. I think it's helping comics in Kickstarter, it's helping comics in the comic store. My buddy lived in a new shop that he doubled in size and he says it's not guaranteed that income would go up but like income has gone up because of things like Absolute and stuff like that. And it also telling people buy the copy off the shelf because you don't know how much it's going to be worth after the fact.
Yeah, yeah. Or if it's even going to
Like,
be there, 5 minutes after you look at it.
oh, it's insane about the number of things where I was like, I like White Sky. I actually read the comic ahead of time, and I was like, cool, I'll go pick this up on New Comic Day. And I forgot to put it on my pull list, and I went in there. He's like, yeah, we don't have any. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, it's like a $70 book now. And I'm like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, yeah.
But
That and Dork and
yeah,
yeah, the whole
well, so funny
uh
is like it's a way. Someone asked me the other day about I go during the pandemic, variants were like that thing where people were like, it's just you can make money, you can like pay your mortgage on buying and selling variants. It was insane, and then it was like now it shifted to this like almost like stock market trade, like almost like speculating, but on speculating on what comic book's not going to be ordered a lot instead of like the quality of the comic or the cover of the comics or anything like that's like what stores are going to like not take a risk on this comic? That's the one that we're going to pick, and that's the one that's doing well. Because like White Sky and Dork and Nectar was the other one that was like people didn't order a ton of from like kind of unknown people, and that was the ones that like spec. I'm like, but I want to read this comic.
Yeah,
Stop
I just
making
want
it
to
a
read it. Yeah, yeah.
$40 comic. I don't want to pay $40 for a comic that's worth $4. Come on. And even the websites now say beware of these things. Like don't play into it. They're like almost like do what you want, but like this is not something that's normal. So please do not go out there buying $40 comics that are going to be $3 next week. Just be careful on that. But speaking of variants though, but I wanted to quickly finish up here is your cover B, is it? The
Mhm.
one that says
Yeah,
how
I'm
to
doing
draw
beat.
Rascal Randy? That is phenomenal. Like
Oh,
that's
thanks,
like
man.
I'm usually a cover A kind of person, and then there's a special cover B or whatever. I'm like I'm gonna be buying B as well because that is like that's so cool. I don't know what is that just a
HB.
is it
It's
gonna
yeah,
be
no,
similar something like that?
so the A covers by Dylan are all sort of like, they're what an A cover should be, which is it's the character, it tells you what the story is or what it's going to be. And then for my B covers, they're like you can do whatever you want. And so I was like, okay, I'm kind of going to do these weird sort of in-world covers. And so like the How to Draw Rascal Randy is like, oh, that's just like a how to draw him, but then we got, the blood that makes it this thing. And then the second issue, which I can talk about just because I think it's been solicited, is sort of a pastiche of a Life magazine with the creator of Rascal Randy sort of posing with his original creation, and that's that. And then we keep going. The fifth cover is I oil painted a rabbit. Like the fifth cover is a full oil painting of a rabbit wearing the costume as like almost like a Baroque piece of art. There's what are the other ones? There's one of him yeah, holding hands with a child as they go to the fair together. I don't know, they're really fun and they're different. So those ones that was fun because they were kind of like you can do whatever you want. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take Randy through these weird um sort of different sort of in-world things that maybe like we wouldn't normally touch on, but they can act as sort of, when I mentioned the Al Columbia thing, right, where it's you see them and then they create a story within your head, separate from what we're telling in the book, but they sort of add hopefully holistically to the world we're building.
Hmm. Hmm. And the 1 in 25 variant of number one by Javier Polito is the Pez dispenser with
Oh,
the teeth in it too. And like that's also like super creepy, like in a sense
yeah,
that
yeah.
like it's like I understand it because obviously there's a lot like if you read the comic, there's this like history to the collectibles and things like that around it. But I was like, when you open it up, there's like these little teeth inside of it. I'm like, that would be oh my God, that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a genius.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that man's work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that kind of stuff that's the kind of stuff I really like. That's why one of my favorite artists is Michael Del Mundo, and the fact that like he's a phenomenal artist, but also like the how his brain works in a way that he's like one of my favorite covers is Darth Vader cover where Anakin Skywalker's like in the mask of Darth Vader, like he's in prison, and I'm like, how? Like, first of all, it's phenomenally created, but also like how the hell did you freaking think of that? Like how did that get in your mind like in the first place? And then to be able to take that and put it on paper, I was like, you suck. And I also what do I always say to people? And he's also not bad looking, so he's got everything. What the hell's going on here now?
Yeah,
Give
it's like
save some for
Jorge
the rest of
Jimenez.
us. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Or
Save some for the rest of us here.
Raphael Grandpa. These guys
Yes.
are Adonises and also can
Yes.
draw
Good
circles
draw.
around most people.
And like think of these cool things and they probably can write well and they just don't and so like it's like at least save some of it for the rest of us. But yeah, and you just finished up Phantom of the Opera, Universal Monsters, which is like awesome. I wanted to talk a little bit, we want to finish this up here quickly, but like drawing big two or writing big two comics like Marvel and DC, obviously dealing with some iconic characters, but like this is an iconic character. Like this is an iconic story. Was that I'm guessing it was fun. But
Yeah,
it was just like was it like a
I I loved it. It was as soon as they announced that Universal line, I so desperately wanted to do one, but I never vocalized that. I sort of just like almost like Oprah the secreted it in my heart. And then yeah, to get the opportunity to do that, especially on a character like Phantom, was awesome. There's I getting to do it with Martin too in a way where it's like, okay, I have somebody who I know is gonna hit these things hard, and so making sure to like leave him room where, say, people don't, even people who are Phantom fans who maybe don't like the take I would bring to it, they'll at least get these gorgeous Martin images, and so making sure we set that so it's like no matter what they'll be satisfied with. They'll go, well, I don't like that he did X with this, but at least we got this cool thing. But it was great. I mean, we Universal really wanted us to sort of head to the 1943 version instead of the Lon Chaney 20s version of the film, which was great in the sense that it opened up the opportunity to do like, okay, well then we can take that sort of skeleton of that movie, but like let's do our own thing with it. And so we got to lean into, I went and was reading versions of the script of that movie that didn't get made and pulling from that as well as the book, as well as, there was one version that almost feels like it would be like of that script that would be like a contemporary A24 movie where they were going to take his mask off and he was going to be completely unscarred, but he would have been in the war and his PTSD internalized. He'd see himself as the monster. And I was like, they were writing this shit in the 40s. That's pretty good.
Yes,
Like that's, I was like, A24 would put that out today.
yes,
But
it
um,
should. I'll tell you that right now.
yeah,
It
yeah,
should.
yeah, yeah. I think Guillermo del Toro is doing is apparently working on a Phantom adaptation, but no, Phantom is so iconic, and to get to touch on it a little bit, and put me and Martin be able to put a little bit of our our version of the character out there, and the story. Yeah, I don't know, I'm immensely proud of that book, and I can't wait to get my hands on the hardcovers of it. I have all the Universal hardcovers, and I guess I just saw there's Martin's A cover, but there's also a Danny B cover, and I was like, okay, so I'll have both of those out. But no, I'm immensely proud of that book.
I
Um,
was looking forward to all of them, but in the same sense, it also was like one of those commitments. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like the other day, someone came into the shop and was like, I'm gonna collect all those Magic the Gathering covers, and then after the like realized it's like 7 a week for like 4 weeks. Like, oh shit, I have to commit to this now. I was like, I committed to the hardcover Universal Monsters now, and I'm like, every single one now I need to get, because if I don't get one now, it's gonna stick out in my on my shelf here. And then I was like, okay, they're all excellent too. But it also reminds me a lot of like what this Exquisite Corpses is. It's like it's like Universal Monsters, but by a group of people. Because like obviously Martin and James and all a bunch of these people have worked on multiple ones, and it's really cool to see that, and moving forward to see like it's like this again, like it could be like the Universal Monsters crew in a sense for these books. Each individual series is done by a different group of people, but it's like it does seem like with James doing a couple and so on and so forth. It's really kind of a cool thing, and I think it's doing well in a sense where some people have missed a little bit on Universal Monsters in the past. Like this is actually doing, all of them are amazing, and I can't wait. There's more coming, which is amazing.
oh yeah, I got to read the first issue of Blood of the Wolfman from Leo Max and Josh Williamson, and it's such a different take, and it's so fun. That's the other thing that's great about them too is each one is its own. Invisible Man is sort of a prequel to the movie, and Dracula is Dracula straight, but it's told from Renfield's point of view, and Creature from the Black Lagoon is a sequel, and our Phantom is a pretty. We're doing Phantom, we're doing just that story, but we're gonna make it a horror book, and we're gonna that is the and really try and do what we think is the idealized version of what a gothic horror Phantom would be. Like that was our edict from go. Was like that's what we're going to try and do. And it's great. Alex Antone, the series editor, he really is there to champion your vision and help build it up. And there's one more that I know of coming after Wolfman that I think fans could probably guess and will be really excited by. And the creative team on it is so exciting. Like it's people are going to be pumped on it because it's like oh yeah, of course, like this is.
It makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun. Like I said, I think it's one of those things that like you're gonna get longtime fans of these things and newcomers to do it. And again, to me, and there's also the side of like I'm a big fan of Tyler Boss. I'm gonna buy even if I don't know much about Phantom of the Opera. I'm still gonna like there's this like multiple facets that draw these people in. And again, artwork by Martin is just it's phenomenal. You can't
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
sublime.
like it's amazing in that sense too. So that's September, I believe. September 23rd, I think is the date for the hardcover on that. So you want to tell your LCS to grab that. Make sure you get that cover from that. And then You'll Do Bad Things is available now in trade. So grab that too. As well as if you can grab Four Kids Walk in the Bank.
Trying, yeah.
Try to grab that. No,
Unclear. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And obviously, there's what's the furthest place from here. There's all kinds of stuff we could say. Just go to your local comic book shop and say, hey, can you guys like put into your ordering system Tyler Boss and anything that he makes? I'm gonna want to bring it. No, it's exciting. And then obviously, Exquisite Corpses Volume 1 and 2 are out now. Volume 3 is coming soon. It's actually not that far away, I don't think, even though the issue just came out. Hold
Yeah, I
on.
think
Exquisite.
maybe what is it? 'Cause there's a break. Maybe it's June. I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up. Look at that. I have the ability to do this. Trade paperbacks. We have August 19th. It's
August.
actually not
Okay.
that far away. We're not that far away, which is great because I feel like there is this certain publishers, certain things where it's like issue 13 hits
There's
and like
rules.
8 months later, like
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
got like after the momentum of the actual series is over, then the trade comes out. You're like, it would have been nice to have that out like while people are still like amped about it. But you also don't want it out like next week so people don't buy single issue 13 because they could just buy the trade. So there's
And
that
just
too.
by the trade, yeah. But
Yeah, exactly.
you know, there'll be what is it? Because we're in well, we just entered June. So yeah, there will be no Exquisite Corpses for June after basically one being in shops for a straight year. But Rascal Randy will be out. Number one will be out next month, and then I guess they're actually I think they're staggering the solo series in them too. So I think by the time we're on issue 3 or 4 is when the first issue of Fox Mask comes out. So Shay will have Absolute Catwoman and Fox Mask, and that should be pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely. And it also is pretty cool because I believe now that I think about it, we're past, or by the time this episode airs, we'll be past FOC for issue 1, but issue two's FOC, because I think Rascal Randy number 2 doesn't come until August. Or it does come out in August. So actually it's July 20th or something like that. So there is like enough space in between issue 1 coming out and issue 2 coming out, which I actually love. Sometimes now I see nowadays where they're like, FOC for issue 2 is today, and Wednesdays the
Before
first
you've
issue
read,
comes out. Yeah, it's like what the
yeah,
hell? Like I don't even know I
yeah, yeah.
wanted it. But have some faith and just do it. No, yeah, July 8th is when Rascal Randy comes out, so it also gives you opportunity to catch up on your reading Exquisite Corpses if you aren't read up, kept up to this right now. You can read all that. And again, if you're waiting for volume 3, I understand people want trades, they want to be price conscious. I understand. Just go to your local comic book shop and buy it. And actually, trade paperbacks you can get at your local bookstore too, or a library. If you tell the library I want this, that's also good for comic books. But yeah, that's awesome. So congratulations on having a child.
Oh,
That is a
thank you. Yeah.
fantastic. That is way more, cooler than comics. I'll tell you that right now. Not just coming from a dad. Even though you did none of the work. Uh,
No,
well,
yeah, I
you did the
watched.
fun part of the work, not the hard part of the work.
I stood by and said, "Yay!"
Yay. Well, actually, a funny
The
story quickly is that I actually bought a comic book while my wife was pushing for the first time because I had. This is a story she knows, and she understands. I had no the nurses there and everything was so new, and no one was communicating anything to anybody. So like, I thought she was just sitting there, and I'm like, I don't want to be right on top of her, so I went and sat down, and I got my phone out, and and then like I'm like literally checking out, and they're like push. I'm like, oh shit, I'm like what's going on? Why didn't someone tell me? And so like it's been a joke ever since that it was a Joseph Schmalke book. It was something to do with Joseph Schmalke here in Maine, so he's get the credit for that. But yeah, I should have named my child instead of Nova. I guess I should have named him Joseph because of that. But no, yeah, I stood by you. You have to, and it's a lot of work. Like I said, infants are a lot of work. One of the main reasons we only have two, we didn't go for another one, is that the work between ages 1 and 2 or 0 and 2 it's a lot of work. And so yeah, but yeah, it's a lot of work to do, but it's fun. And yeah, so congratulations on that, and congratulations to your partner in crime there as well, because that's it's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's gonna be. And I just can't wait. Like I want to share so many of my comic book passions with my son. Like, but like 90% of it's horror, and I'm like, I gotta wait. I can't. Like he just watched Star Wars, the first Star Wars, because he went to Disney World with my parents, and so he had to go to the Star Wars universe down there, and so he wanted to watch Star Wars, and he actually was like at 4, almost 5 years old. He was like riveted to the screen. I was like, interesting, interesting. This is like a lot of talking. There's not a lot of action. There's a lot of talking in Star Wars, but yeah, it's fun. So congratulations on that for sure. But also congratulations on all the Exquisite Corpses stuff, and Rascal Randy coming out July 8th. You'll Do Bad Things is amazing, and the Universal Monsters Phantom of the Opera. So pumped that those are all out, and you're doing such a good job. I want the next illustrated book from Tyler Boss, but we'll
it's
get there at
coming.
some
It's
point. Okay.
we're still trying to we're finishing Furthest Place just quietly. We're just finishing all of it, and then we're going to release it. We got some. Me and Matt got some other things too that should be pretty fun coming. But yeah, no, there'll be a couple of I'm doing a one shot that I'm both writing and drawing for a series that'll be out. Actually, I don't know when that'll be out, but it's coming. And yeah, no, it'll be there's a bunch of stuff coming, but yeah, one we did the story you just told about your kids with Star Wars and going. We took the boy. He just turned 5 months today. He was a New Year's baby, but we took him to a like a a horror convention in a hotel yesterday, where it was just like it was like a B horror movie thing where they had like actors from there where it's like, oh, they were in, Slaughterhouse 25, like get your signature. And so it was just like us with the stroller walking the kid around to be like, look at it, little one, look at this severed head on it. And me and my wife going over the vinegar syndrome table being like, well, this one looks pretty so
Well, it's like
yeah,
the whole. I was at Beethoven. Like, listen, have your kids listen to Beethoven. It's the same idea, and the opposite side of like, if you want your kid to be into horror growing up, after he gets older, you have to like immerse him in it early, because if not, then he's gonna be like, oh, scared of everything. Like, just immerse him
yeah, yeah.
early. He's like, I have this
So
weird
yeah,
memory of being in a horror convention when I was 5 months
all
old.
these
Like, this
weird
is
faces
amazing.
looking at me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's true though. It was hard. My son was born in during the pandemic, so like my son was like sheltered for the first 2 years of his life. Like he didn't go anywhere. And my daughter is the one that's 2 years old, who's like a minion and wants to like climb over everything and like wants to be outside all the time. Is not scared of anything, and it's just like how drastically different they could be. She'll be the one that's probably like next year or so, be like, can I read some horror comics? And then my son will be like, oh my god, I'm having nightmares. But yeah, so it'll be fun. And it's like I said, my buddy who runs a convention here in Maine, a bigger pop culture convention. I've had this conversation because he has a 7-year-old, and about how sharing your passion, your pop culture passions with these people, with your kids, it's just so much fun. Something like my dad was into some things, but he wasn't really passionate about any like pop culture things. So like I didn't get that experience, and I can't wait to share that experience with my kid. I mean, your kid's gonna be like, Dad, you write comics? Oh,
I
go
know
weirdo.
the joke me and my wife have, because we're both artists, is that our kid's going to be super into like private equity.
Yes.
Like we're gonna be like, we don't know anything about that, man. I'm sorry. Like we
Like
don't.
very structured, very, very
Yeah,
clean,
yeah,
very
yeah,
yeah. It's like
yeah.
sorry.
He's
Yeah. No, that's one of my things. I'm like so afraid of my son being like, Star Wars is stupid. And I'm like, oh God, what the hell? No, it's fun. And again, they'll do whatever they do, but like
yeah,
being
yeah.
around it, I could imagine your kids being at least artistic friendly. No one's saying they're gonna
They'll
be the most
tolerate it. They'll put it
artist.
up.
Yeah,
They'll
they'll
be.
tolerate it.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
As long as they
That
don't use
Patton
a
Oswalt
computer
joke where it's
automated, yeah.
like, I'll get that. I'll help you get your Blade Runner replica gun off the roof if you do some push-ups. Yeah,
As long as it's not AI generated artwork,
yeah,
then
yeah.
we're all good with that. We're good with that, right? But yeah, I appreciate it. We'll stop rambling on here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule here, Tyler, to talk with us with comics and so much more. We'll get you on again in the future to chat more stuff. But until then, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.